Hi everyone, my name is Millicent Cargill and today I'm going to be talking about the Supreme Court case Akron versus Akron Center for Reproductive Health decided in 1983. So this case came out of the city of Akron, Ohio back in 1978. The city passed a law that added a bunch of restrictions on abortion procedures. Some of the big ones were that all second trimester abortions had to be done in a hospital. Women had to wait 24 hours after counseling before getting an abortion. Minors under 15 had to have parental consent, and doctors were required to read a state written script that discouraged abortion. Several local clinics challenged the law, saying it violated the right to privacy that the Supreme Court had recognized in Roe v. Wade 10 years earlier. So the main constitutional question was, do these kind of local abortion restrictions violate the 14th Amendment right to privacy and a woman's right to choose? When it reached to the Supreme Court, the justice voted 6-3 in favor of the clinics. The majority opinion, written by Justice Powell, struck down most of the Akron rules. He said that these restrictions placed an unconstitutional burden on women trying to get abortions. For example, the hospital-only rule made the procedure more expensive and harder to access, especially for low-income women. The 24-hour waiting period and the required script were also seen as government interference in the doctor-patient relationship. Basically, the majority reaffirmed the key idea from Roe v. Wade that before a fetus is viable, the decision to have an abortion belongs to the woman, not the state. But not everyone on the court agreed. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor wrote a strong dissent. She argued that the court's Roe framework, the trimester system, was too rigid and unrealistic. Instead, she suggested a new standard called the undue burden test. That means a law should only be struck down if it creates a substantial obstacle for a woman seeking an abortion. O'Connor thought that the Akron laws were reasonable and meant to protect women's health and promote informed decisions, not to block access. Her dissent didn't win in this case, but it became very influential later on. The court actually adopted her undue burden test in Planned Parenthood versus Casey in 1992. So even though O'Connor lost here, her reasoning ended up shaping abortion laws for decades. In my opinion, I agree with the majority in this case. While the government has a role in making sure medical procedures are safe, these laws clearly went too far. They weren't really about the safety, they were about discouraging women from making a personal choice, requiring a hospital for safe outpatient procedures, and forcing doctors to read a script sounds more like politics than medicine. What I think is interesting about Akron versus Akron Center is that it shows how the court's decision can evolve over time. The justices were basically debating the same question people are still debating today. How much control should the government have over private decisions about reproduction? Overall, this case reaffirmed the importance of personal privacy and choice under the Constitution, while also setting up the arguments that would come back in future cases. Thanks for listening. That's my summary on Akron versus Akron Center for Reproductive Health.